Verse works closely with the Israeli government and under special programs gets reimbursed for up to 50% of its research and development costs by the Israeli Ministry of Industry and Trade. But investigators within the DEA, INS, and FBI have all told Fox News that to pursue or even suggest Israeli spying through Converse is considered career suicide.
Here's what happened. The Israeli Mossad gets caught filming the 9/11 event and working for a front company just 3 miles away from the said hijackers in New Jersey. In Florida, it's even worse, with the Israelis living next door to the said hijackers, literally next door to them. But then, the official story starts getting really goofy when you have the reports of one of the hijackers' passports magically flying down near Ground Zero and being found unburned. Apparently we have fire hot enough to weaken steel and make buildings collapse, but not hot enough to burn a paper passport. As if it was an attempt to top that one, they have the claim that Mohammed Atta, the same guy they lied about having a meeting in Prague where he got anthrax, supposedly had a bag with a list of all 19 hijackers' names on it and plans about 9/11, which just so happened to get lost in the luggage and never made it on his final flight. But then the FBI royally goofs up that list because they have a number of hijackers who aren't dead, and they go and backpedal on, oh well, it was some guy with the same name and rah 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 rah. The story's basically dropped. Robert Mueller, the former director of the FBI, finally told CNN in September of 2002 that, quote, there was no legal proof to prove the identities of the suicidal hijackers. There seems to be a lot of mystery surrounding Mohammed Atta. He's the lead hijacker, dubbed so by the mass media. He was the one used to link Iraq to anthrax unfairly. And then this guy takes a bag with him on his final attack with all the plans in it and all the names of all the hijackers on his final flight, which if discovered would ruin the entire thing. He lived next door to Israeli spies, and he was spotted on the casino ships of Jack Abramoff, a Zionist lobbyist, on September 5th, just 6 days before the attack. That's all interesting. Well, that's not all. He also had Star Trek teleportation powers, apparently, because the guy can be in Florida at 5 o'clock and yet be on a flight to Baltimore at 3 and somehow get back and be drinking in a bar. And I'll give you a link to that so you can read the details here. There have been several Osama bin Laden tapes to hit the news, as well as Al-Qaeda tapes, and these things are fake. They seem to pop up regularly when Bush was up for re-election.
This will assure his followers that A, he's alive and well, he's still in the game, and his followers, Rick, just haven't seen him, and when they do, it's likely to invigorate the movement. He's still very much the inspiration for Al-Qaeda.
How do we know that this thing is legit?
Well, you know, this is being flagged by Al-Sahab, which is Al-Qaeda's media arm, and every other video or audio message that's come out that's been flagged by Al-Sahab has been legit, Rick, so we expect that this one will be too.
One of the bin Laden tapes was so bad that it actually took footage from a film made in 2006 called Road to Guantanamo and passed it off like it was original footage. This made it on all the networks.
And a 2004 video purportedly showing bin Laden, which was exactly identical to a video released in 2007.
After these debunkles, they go to voice-only tapes, but those get debunked as well. But one would think anything supposedly from Osama bin Laden would be under the microscope more than anything else and have more scrutiny than anything else. And yet, Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden are on the news multiple times as known fakes.
Adam Gadon, the so-called American Al-Qaeda who proclaimed himself the media maven, if you will, for Al-Qaeda and was helping to produce a lot of these so-called Al-Qaeda videos that were all over the internet that made Al-Qaeda look really bad and made the Muslims look bad.
Should you fail to comply in full, we will deem it sufficient justification to continue to fight and kill Americans.
Come to find out, Adam Gadon's real name was Adam Perlman. And not only was he, in fact, Jewish, he was the grandson of a member of the board of the Anti-Defamation League. And if you've been following the history of the Anti-Defamation League, you will find out they've been very much involved in covertly supporting a lot of these so-called American Nazi movements. In fact, all the way back, just about the time of World War II, there was this scandal where the head of the American Nazi Party, which had a total membership of like 6, and yet they were getting all this press, was arrested for embezzling from his sponsors, which turned out to be the ADL, so that kind of blew up in their faces. So anyway, we have Adam Perlman, and he's been going around saying, I'm Al-Qaeda, I'm Al-Qaeda, see, I got a turban on my head, I'm a terrible Muslim, gotta hate me, gotta be afraid of me, and of course everybody's laughing at him now because we all know who he is. Okay, so they have brought in the understudy, and there is a new American Al-Qaeda named Yusuf al-Khattab. Ooh, big scary name, and they've got a picture of him out there where he's holding all these guns and knives, and he's dressed up like a wannabe Rambo, and he's scowling at the camera, and he supposedly has this website with things in it, like pictures of the Statue of Liberty with an axe buried in the back of the head. I mean, very heavy-handed, very over-the-top.
There was also a link to a puppet show mocking Danny Pearl's beheading. Take a look.
Oh, that's awful.
You know, just looking more like a movie prop than anything else here. So, as it turns out, this is another fake. His real name is Joseph Cohen.
He's a 39-year-old New York City taxi driver, as you mentioned. He called himself Yusuf al-Khattab, but he was born Joseph Cohen here in America. He is a Jew.
And he is another manufactured front to try and convince Americans that Al-Qaeda is actually here in the United States. And this is why we've got to be doing this, doing surveillance on the American people and reading their email and listening to their phone calls and all this stuff, because you never know when we're going to get into a situation with the American Al-Qaeda. And it's all a front. It's a fake.
He was not their commander. There is also no evidence that bin Laden used the term Al-Qaeda to refer to the name of a group until after September the 11th, when he realized that this was the term the Americans had given him.
There was constant discussion about him hiding out in caves, and I think many times the American people have a perception that it's a little hole dug out of the side of a mountain.
Oh, no.
This is it. This is a fortress.
Yes.
A complex, multi-tiered, bedrooms and offices on the top, as you can see. Secret exits on the side and on the bottom. Cut deep to avoid thermal detection. A ventilation system to allow people to breathe and to carry on. The entrance is large enough to drive trucks and even tanks, even computer systems and telephone systems. It's a very sophisticated operation.
Oh, you bet. This is serious business. And there's not one of those. There are many of those.
Oh, I think we've seen this cartoon rhetoric before. There weren't many of those. There weren't any of those. Now, Atta and Al-Amari went out of their way to get on camera on September 10th, the night before the attack. They went to 2 different ATMs, which we have pictures of, a gas station and a Walmart. And then, of course, they're on camera at the airport in Maine. There's a big problem with this, though. Al-Amari isn't dead. The name mix-ups aside, whose face is on the ATM photo? And just who the hell is in the video in Maine? I don't buy the FBI's mix-up excuse at all. What are the odds of a man from Saudi Arabia who had been to America and reported his passport stolen, who just so happened to have the exact same name and birthday as a proposed 9/11 hijacker? It is much more probable that the Israelis stole a passport and the al-Omari hijacker was just using a stolen identity, as were many of them. You can chalk one up to coincidence, but 7? No. There's 7 living hijackers and one who died before the event. That's 8 out of 19 who could not have possibly participated in it. And yet the very fraudulent Osama bin Laden confession tapes give praise to people who weren't even involved. I'm going to agree with Seymour Hersh's investigation in the New Yorker. Whatever trail was left deliberately for the FBI to find. He was told by a senior military officer, because of the visas and other documentation needed to infiltrate team members into the United States, a major intelligence service might also have been involved. Yeah, you think?
We would like to correct a report that appeared on CNN last night. Based on information from multiple law enforcement sources, CNN reported that Adnan Bukhari and a brother Amir of Vero Beach, Florida, were suspected to be 2 of the pilots who crashed into the World Trade Center. Today, CNN learned that Adnan Bukhari is still in Florida, where he was questioned yesterday by the FBI, and after taking a lie detector test, today he was cleared of involvement in Tuesday's airliner attacks. We are sorry for the misinformation. Through his attorney, Bukhari says he is not connected at all with this, that he is helping authorities, and that any documents that they found with his name means his identity was stolen. He says Amir Bukhari, who he says is not his brother, died in a small plane crash last year.
The living Omari, who is the FBI's current and second pick, reported that his passport had been stolen. This is worse than his year forgeries, and yet, where was the media? So we have an unburned passport, IDs left behind at strip clubs, and then a list with all the names on it that was conveniently left in a bag there for everybody to know. And then that list is all goofed up because some of the names on there were wrong. It gets even more interesting when the live reports report truck bombings as well as arrests. And then this suddenly disappears from the media and the American conscience. Instead, we are fed images of dancing Palestinians. It's funny how Palestinians were featured dancing on every single channel when this was a false prepackaged tape, and yet the Israelis who actually were dancing on 9/11 never see airtime. The dancing Israelis who were working for Mossad front company Urban Moving Systems get caught in a van with traces of explosives. They were filming the 9/11 attacks in New York with the planes crashing into the buildings before it happened. So they just decided to set up a film on that particular day, driving around in a van that had traces of explosives, and there were nearly $5,000 stuffed in their sock, and they just strolling through, set up in the park, put a camera, let's point it at the World Trade Center for no particular reason, just in case something happens. And then, of course, 9/11 happens. They're there. That's not reported. The truck bombs are never followed up on, and the massive spy ring is never aired. How did the Israelis know what was going to happen? What happened to the truck bombers? Why were the reports of the truck bombs never brought up again, and the investigations into the spy rings never got airtime? Why is that? Well, I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for the U.S. media to do an in-depth report about it. Anything that can involve Israel is off limits. They won't even report on a 40-year, very open, very verifiable military occupation of racial colonization and ethnic cleansing that could make conquistadors blush.
German.